Hi traders and welcome to the Friday Market Watch on the 8th of August. We're starting to approach the end of this earnings season and we're going to see some key breakouts actually occurring as we speak. So we'll jump straight into the markets and see if we can identify any trades for today or early into next week. All right, so we're going to start out here with the US dollar CAD today, and we can see that we've actually got a really important juncture at the 20 and the 50 moving average. As we can see, we've had effectively a bit of a breakout from this zone that we've been talking about for a little bit now, and it hit the first point of resistance, has come back now, and it's testing the 20 and the 50 moving average from above. Now, this is actually really important because it's actually at a role reversal zone at the top of these peaks, but also we can see that we've got the MACD rising quite significantly all the way through. So this base that the USDCAD has actually formed has actually been very strong, and we have seen a MACD switch on most recently since Tuesday, the 29th of July. We can see that the MACD has actually gone into positive territory, which means, of course, that the 12 and the 26 have actually crossed and are expanding. So with a pullback all the way to the 20 and the 50 at a role reversal zone, it is actually a key element for a potential big move past this level here at 138.50. So the target very clearly is to actually break that zone first. So the support that we're getting here is very important to actually have that happen. Now, if we get a breakdown below the 20 and the 50 moving average, that's going to change a lot on what's happening on the CAD, because more than likely we're probably going to see a weakness all the way back down to 135. But if the technicals play out as strong as they should, we could see a bounce from here to test the above resistance at 138 and then push on to the bigger move, which is what probably around the 140, which is what we're expecting here. So a really good level on the CAD to be on the lookout for, because if we see a smaller higher low sequence on a smaller time frame like a 15-minute or a 1 hour start to kick in, especially when it gets past the 137.80, we could look to get some profit at around that 138.50 and look for the bigger move to break past at this level here. So pretty good trading on the US dollar CAD. If we do break down, of course, and start trading below the 20 moving average on a daily, then we're going to be looking at a 135.50-ish move back to around this support level through this area here. All right, so the next one we're going to have a look at is the US dollar yen, and we can see here that this has formed a very good level of support, again at a very important role reversal zone. You can see that we've got the 50 moving average also giving it support at this level, but we've seen resistance and support both at that 146.70 to 80 area, and all week we've seen attempts to actually break through past the 20 moving average and actually also below this level, and neither of them have been able to actually make it. So really good opportunities here, I think. When we see that breakout past the 20 moving average, if that's the way it goes, I think the 148.80 is a very good target, because it has already proven that it does sell off from that level. But given that we've seen so much support at this level here, I think that a breakthrough here could see us get to 150.80 relatively quickly, and the yen does move very fast, we know this. So what we're really looking for here is a break above that 20 moving average. Once we see that, a series of higher highs and higher lows, we trade in the first instance up to 148.80, and a break of that, there could be a secondary trade looking to the 150.80. If it does break down lower than the 146.80, at that point we'd be looking at lows at around that 143.50 again. So not the ideal trade, given that momentum is actually shifting to the upside. We're looking at higher low sequences on the bigger time frame. So really what we want to do is capitalize on that. So the preferred trade would be long from here, but we do need it to start cracking soon so we can get past that 20 moving average and trade onto the 148.80. But really setting up nicely for a very strong base on the yen. So we do like this one. All right, the next one we're going to have a look at is gold. So we're going to go over to gold today, and this one is trying to break out in a hurry. We can see that we've got already a very strong level of consolidation. The moving averages have been effectively separated for all the way back since 2600. It's been a very long time. They have threatened to cross down, but have failed to do so on every occasion. So we need to believe in the story that the strength is still there. And it has gone sideways. It hasn't really given us any indication that it's actually ready to sell off quickly. We are looking at a level here where quite shortly it's going to reach those all-time highs again if we get any more momentum on the way up. And those levels we're talking about are 3,440 and even the extreme zone around that sort of almost all but 3,500. I think that given given that we've seen so much testing of these lower levels and we're starting to grind higher again, the first trade we'd be looking for is sort of a $30 to $40 move up to that 34.40, which is the first support zone. We can see here that we've got we've got 4 different peaks of resistance here that will provide probably more resistance again at around that 34.40-ish area. A break of that though, and I think 3,500 would be the next target. It would be a pretty obvious target at that. But what we want to see is a clear, definitive daily break of this zone. It has sold off 4 times since it's been there, but the momentum this time is picking up from a pretty low level. Previously, it did grind its way up there and it was doing all the right things. I think on if we get a 5th touch, I think this might be the one that actually pushes through. So pretty good trading on gold. If it does break down, I'm not looking for anything much lower than the lows that we've seen here at around that sort of 32.50 to 32.80. So in order for that to happen, it needs to close below the 20 moving average, of course, and then we see a series of lower highs and lower lows. And if it does that, then we'll start trading it down to this level. But the preferred move is up to the previous highs here on gold. All right, we're going to go over to oil now, and oil has been a very interesting trade over the last couple of weeks. You can see here that we've had an attempted breakout several times of this very tight zone after we saw the big price shock, and it did have a very serious attempt to get up to that 72.50 area that we have trapped over here, but it failed to do so, and it's been selling off ever since. We've effectively seen nearly 2 weeks of complete weakness. Now, it does find itself at a level where it might find a little bit of support, because we have 2 peaks here where it did actually reverse, and you can see right through this zone here around that sort of $64 mark that there is a little bit of support. Now, it tested that level yesterday and rejected, and it's been trying to break that level all day today and has effectively landed right on it. So it's not that it's actually rejected off it, but it has actually stopped there. So this is a very interesting point, because I think if we get a break past this 64, it may well just keep grinding all the way to 60. And we're going to be guided by the smaller time frames and lower highs and lower lows, of course. That's what we're looking for in that instance. But if there is going to be a turnaround, this is the level that the turnaround will happen. And if we get that, then the obvious move is back up to the moving averages around that sort of 66 to 67 area. Okay, so I think there's a couple of dollars either way. It's just a matter of whether it actually breaks this 64. I'm not going to put a line there, because that will actually, it'll put too many lines on the chart and it can get a bit confusing. But just be aware that these peaks here at around that sort of $64 mark are going to be a form of support in a proper technical environment. So if we see them turning around here and we start to see a series of higher highs and higher lows, we'll look for a trade up to around that sort of 67, 66.80, 67. But if we get a daily close below that level, then I think we just follow the lower high and lower lows on moving averages and look for the $60 a barrel mark. So you can see here, pretty strong support, and that level is the one that we'd be really looking for. We're looking at pullbacks to a 20 moving average on, say, a 1 hour or a 15-minute chart and follow the trend down, because at that point, the prevailing trend is going to be pushing down with a bit of force. So you should be able to get a bit of momentum on your side. All right, the last one we're going to have a look at today is Bitcoin. So Bitcoin it found the perfect role reversal zone. You can see that it was selling off a little bit. We had a series of lower highs and lower lows, albeit shallow, landed right on the support line that we would have expected, around the 112,000. Really, really good bounce zone. And then it's done all it's needed to do to actually get itself moving again and past the 20 moving average, the all important 20 moving average. Now, this one hasn't had a 20 moving average and 50 moving average cross for, it seems like forever, since all the way back at 85,000. But we are approaching this high here. We can see the bottom of this little range is already there at around that 117,000. What we're looking for is capitalizing on the strength and pushing it up to around that 120,500. What we're looking for there is a move up to the top of this range. You can see we had about 3 or 4 weeks of really strong movement in between those two ranges, and that would be the next target for it, around the 120,500-ish area. We've got some really good momentum kicking on. You can see that on the smaller time frames as well. You can see that we've got higher high, higher low sequences starting to kick off, pulling back to the 20 moving average and looking for that target. So hopefully with a little bit of luck, and a bit more momentum, we'll see that target hit. And after that, we'll reassess. It's not one of those ones where you're going to go very long from here. We want to reassess this at that level, but that would be the target I'd be aiming for. There's a little bit too much momentum on the long side to be taking any short. So if it does turn around, I think we wait and let it find another level of support again, probably the same one, before we start getting excited about shorting it, because I think the strength is there at the moment to look for the highs as the preferred trade. So I hope you've had a great week's trading. You've seen some really good moves. Some of the key levels that we've been talking about for quite some time now have been broken and have held up in instances as well. So hopefully you've been able to take advantage of some of those, because we are looking at some pretty good setups post the earnings period that we're seeing. Have a fantastic weekend. I look forward to seeing you soon.